Alongside Brent Hubbs and Rob Lewis, I'm Austin Price for the Rocky Top Roundtable. Guys, Tennessee and Georgia coming up this week. Let's start our breakdown this week and look ahead with the Georgia Bulldogs. This is a team that, obviously is 2-0, much like Tennessee. So-so game week 1 against Arkansas. They kind of got it rolling with some defense in the second half. Then last week, a really dominant performance against Auburn. Brent, this is a Georgia team that's getting more confident by the week with a quarterback that was 4th or 5th on the depth chart a month ago, and he's getting more confident too.
Yeah, I think that's the interesting story with Georgia is Stetson Bennett, because nobody had him in the pool to be the quarterback. I remember it was Jamie Newman who was going to be the guy, and then it was, Jamie Newman left because he got beat out by J.T. Daniels, and J.T. Daniels then didn't get medically cleared to play, and Mathis was the guy, and then all of a sudden the only guy left standing has been Stetson Bennett, who's played pretty well for Georgia. He played well, much better against Auburn, and he played pretty well in relief against Arkansas. Defensively, we knew Georgia would be great. I think the question going into this game is, can Tennessee stop the run and put it on Stetson Bennett's shoulders to win the football game? Auburn never had the ability to do that because they couldn't stop the run up front, and I think that's the big challenge going into this game.
Well, they're going to want to run it, Rob, and they're going to try to give it to that guy right there, Zamir White. And they've always got a stable of tailbacks, including Dalvin Cook's little brother James. And, Georgia is Georgia. They want to run the football.
Yeah, like Henry To'o said on Tuesday, they want to run it down your throat. And that's what they're going to try to do to Tennessee. Partly, I think, to take care of their quarterback, but they're stacked on the offensive line, quality tailbacks, and they ran it over 40 times against Auburn for over 200 yards. And that's going to be their game plan here. It sounds pretty basic, but I completely agree with Brent. You've got to put it on Stetson Bennett. How good is he? Can he actually make plays if he's not working off play action? If he's got to be the guy that gets it done for them as opposed to leading on the ground game. And if Tennessee's going to stay close, they're not going to. Georgia can't average 5 yards a carry like they did against Auburn. Tennessee has to crank that down. Tennessee's been good against the run so far, but they've not seen a team like this.
Sounds like to me these are two teams that are going to be very similar in their attack. Georgia's going to want to put it on, or Tennessee's going to want to put it on Stetson Bennett. Georgia's going to want to put it on Jarrett Garantano, who has been solid through 2 weeks. He's not been spectacular. Rob, what are we thinking on JG going into this game against an experienced Georgia secondary?
Well, just like you said, he's been solid. The biggest thing to me is he's had no turnovers. He had one really bad throw against Missouri in, like 70 dropbacks through 2 games. One that he got away with that probably should have been picked. Outside of that, he's really taking care of the ball. To me, it's the same story as it is with Georgia. Tennessee's got to be able to run the football. Right now, and again, they've not seen the best defenses in the SEC, but they're second in the league in rushing a little over 180 yards a game. In 2 games, went for 232 against Missouri. Tennessee's got to be able to stay on schedule with the change. They can't put Garantano in 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 6 all night long. They've got to manage first and second downs, in my opinion.
I think that's a great point, Rob. When you look at this game and the matchup, a year ago, Tennessee in this game averaged 3rd and 9 or more for the game. They averaged 9 yards to go or more, a little over 9 yards for a first down on 3rd down. They cannot be in 3rd and long all night long. They've got to avoid that. And to do that, Austin, you got to run the football. Tennessee in these last 2 matchups against Georgia's run for less than 140 yards, and Georgia's run for over 400 yards. There's it's a simple formula as to why Georgia's won the last 2 matchups, rather handedly the way that they have. Tennessee's not been able to run it. Georgia has been able to run it.
How much do you expect, Brent, that they will force feed the run? Even if Georgia loads the box, that they just kind of stay patient, even if the first couple of series don't necessarily, see a lot of positive gains. How much do you just have to stick in there and say, hey, we're going to continue to hit it, and hopefully the dam breaks loose?
Well, I think that's the biggest challenge on Jim Chaney, because Georgia, I think, is going to line up in a lot of man coverage on the outside, Rob, and dare him to throw it. And Jim Chaney's going to look at the box and say, I can run it in there where a bunch of people are loaded up waiting on us, or I can try to win a one-on-one battle on the outside. You got to take your shots. There's no question. You look at a year ago in this game, Marquez Callaway hits a big shot, gets Tennessee going. So you're going to take some shots along the way, but you've got to stay committed to the run. If Tennessee becomes one-dimensional, like Auburn did a week ago, it's going to be a long night between the hedges for Tennessee.
Yeah, and I thought it was, to your point, it was dramatically different, the approach against Missouri, than it was South Carolina. The first half, Tennessee ran the ball 11 times for 10 yards. Since then, it has been a run-heavy offense. I got to think Jeremy Pruitt has made that a point of emphasis in the locker room at South Carolina. And again, game planning for Missouri. They ran it 51 times last week. I don't know if they're going to run 51 times against Georgia, but you absolutely cannot be caught up in getting pass happy. But Georgia, they're good in the secondary. They're going to believe they can cover Tennessee man-to-man on the perimeter. They're going to press up on them. They're going to bring a safety down in the box. And Tennessee's going to have to, they're going to have to play big boy football if they're going to stay around in this football game. And that means moving the line of scrimmage, getting 3, 4, 5 yards of carry, and sticking with it.
Lastly, we talked about Georgia's offense earlier. Tennessee's defense, though, should be healthier this week than they've been at any point in the season. They get Sean Schamberger back. Bryce Thompson should be healthier than he was a week ago. To me, that helps the secondary immensely. Darrell Middleton in Game 2 should be better than what he was in Game 1. Aubrey Solomon now in Game 3 after basically not having any contact in fall camp should be better. I don't know if it's complete, but it's better. How much do you think that the addition of the secondary guys like Schamberger and then kind of more experience or more game reps for some of those guys that missed part of fall camp helps Tennessee this week?
Well, I think it has to help them. There's no doubt about that. They need Alontae Taylor to play like he did in Week 1 versus what he did in Week 2. Thompson at the corner should be better. I think Schamberger's return, because he has been practicing, so I don't think there'll be a ton of rust there, Austin, I think is important for Tennessee. They've got to limit big plays. They've given up 9 plays of 20 yards or more through 2 games. That's too many going into this game. They cannot let Georgia have anything easy. So I think Tennessee defensively has got to not give up the big play, obviously, and then they've got to figure out a way to stop the run. What's been interesting in this game is Tennessee's had moments in this game the last 2 years where they've had momentum in the football game at different points. A year ago, it was in the first half. They jumped out to the lead. They had a chance right at the end of the half to carry some momentum in the locker room. They let the game get away from them there when they missed a field goal, and then Georgia scored in the last minute of the half. The year before, that's a 24-12 game in the fourth quarter, and Tennessee can't get off the field because they were wore out defensively. The question is, for both of you guys, from my standpoint, can Tennessee make this a 60-minute fight? And to do that, they're going to have to win in the line of scrimmage, which they haven't been able to do the last 2 years, but they're better equipped to do that this year, including that defensive line, which may not be full of stars, but does have a lot of depth.
Yeah, I agree. I think that getting the game into the fourth quarter is paramount, and that means getting off to a good start. That don't mean you're going to come out and score. It just means you can't fall behind 10 or 14 points in this football game and expect to claw your way back in it. I think Tennessee's got to get off to a hot start. They've got to get off, to a really good start offensively, whether it be running the football or finding plays in the passing game with JG, Rob.
I agree. You don't want to play from behind here, and conversely, I think you want to make Stetson Bennett play from behind. I don't know that Georgia will panic if they're down 10-0 and get away from the run, but you want to put pressure on him to have to make plays. Auburn never came close to doing that last week. The way Georgia was able to control the ball and just kind of dictate how they wanted to play the game. Tennessee can't fall into that if they're going to stay close.
And Austin, don't forget the kicking game. Don't forget the kicking game here. I know a lot of people talk about Brett Samaglia, 1 for 3. That's a bit of a concern, obviously, with the 2 long misses he's made. I don't think there's panic there. Georgia's really good at kickoff return. I think they're averaging about 40 yards a kickoff return. Paxton Brooks needs to hit it well, get it in the end zone, and take that pressure off there. You do not want to give up those hidden yards in the kicking game.
Tennessee looking for their first win in Athens and first win in this series since 2016. They once played a quarterback named Joe Tereshinski III. This week they'll play Stetson Bennett IV. If there's not a more Georgia thing than that, I don't know what there is. For Brent Hubbs and Rob Lewis, I'm Austin Price.